everybody. Welcome to a new Sunday morning conversation. So today, my guest is Jessica Beckley, right? She is actually an adaptive athlete. Her, we'll call it disability, or reason she is an adaptive athlete is, I do not recall, it's not osteoporosis. I don't think it's osteomyelitis, but she has very weak and brittle bones and they break pretty easily. So, she does group runs and road races, but when she does her like half marathons, and ultras and stuff and triathlons, she uses that, the special hand wheelchair to do her races. And she has to use a guide too. Her guide actually hangs out with her for this video and chimes in every now and then. So yeah, she's got some pretty crazy stories about how little force it can take sometimes just to break a bone. So, it's mind blowing. I know it's got to be hard to live like that. I forget how many bones she said. It's in the interview. I don't remember off the top of my head, but she's broken so many. She was actually interviewing with me from her hospital room too. So she also has a side gig, being the I'm sorry, I just blanked. The adaptive athlete program director for base performance out in Boulder, where she makes her home at. And I'm actually a member of the adaptive team too. But she has done fantastic things. Matt, LJ, those guys have all loved what she's done, and she's got, ambitions and plans for the adaptive team to hopefully be as big as the normal team. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
That infection, I had a reaction and I didn't have a trach in place. So they did emergency surgery to reopen it, technically speaking, on Monday night. So. Okay.
So how long do you have? So you're saying you've done this more than once, right?
Yes. So in this month particularly has been bad. So I think I was telling you, Pauline and I have gone to the ER. I've been hospitalized together now twice. And so in the past month, so the first time I just gotten back from a race in Vegas and I was just really exhausted and not on top of things, I think. And I ended up in the hospital for a few days. The following week, I got hit by a car in my racing chair and then ended up in the hospital for a few days. And then this week doesn't count. So you weren't there when I ended up in the hospital.
Okay. It's time Tuesday morning?
Yeah, it was Tuesday morning. It doesn't count. It's not a Monday. So it's been a rough month, but such is life.
Tell me about it. So you told me about, you started all this with group runs, but you use a wheelchair sometimes too. Do you only use that to racing?
No, so I started all my chair experience started with a racing chair versus day chair and stuff. But I started using a day chair probably 95% of the time, 90% of the time in March of 2020. And then now I'm back down to probably using 70% of the time for life activities. For work, I use it probably all but an hour of each day. So. Okay.
Now, can you explain the nature of your disability that you actually need one? I don't know if I completely understand that.
Yeah. So at age 8, I broke my first bone. It was just a tidbit from skiing. Totally expected that a kid would break a bone that. The only red flag at the time was it didn't show up on an x-ray for 8 weeks. So I actually never really it was never treated until that point really, which is very rare and scary. By the time I was 16, I had broken over 12 bones traumatically. And then I also had 3 stress fractures in my foot that at the time were not healing. And so that was when that kind of coincided with all this other stuff going on, this medical condition up here. So I was getting all these high dose steroids, well, maybe it's this issue or whatever. But I was sent to the Mayo Clinic again, and a geneticist looked at everything and said, it's really interesting. Your alkaline phosphatase, which is a very specific liver enzyme, is very low. And normally you would look for that when you have liver disease, it would be very elevated. So that's normally when that biomarker is looked at. And then now versus then it wasn't really flagged if it was low, but now it's flagged on all systems across healthcare in the US and internationally too. And so I have a mutation in my genes that doesn't allow me to produce that enzyme. And so because I don't have that enzyme to the level that I should, I don't process calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus to metabolize my bone correctly. So I have this sister disorder to brittle bones or osteogenesis imperfecta. I have hypophosphatasia, so I break really easily. So now I'm upwards of like 40 plus broken bones, etc. And to the point where
that sucks. Do you have to get them all casted? Are they always getting casted, or are they just like set in place? Screws,
it
dents?
depends on like the break. So a lot of like what we've learned is that I do much better if it's not completely immobilized unless it's displaced. So if it's displaced, it gets really immobilized. Otherwise, then we like can, sorry, no, take two. So if it's not displaced and if it's like stress fractures, I typically have a less aggressive splint going on. Like my left foot, I'll flare up stress fractures at least once a year probably in it. And that one will get put in a boot because some of those stress fractures are in places that blood flow is so horrible that if it's not put in a boot, then it can become like a permanent like dead bone issue as well, which I already have that issue because of steroids. So it's like a hot mess of like trying to keep me comfortable, but also letting me do whatever I want to an extent. So
what is the, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this because I can't figure out the right words to describe it. What is the most simple, mundane thing you had done in which you broke a bone that nobody would have ever expected someone could break a bone doing?
No, Dan told me a good one.
wait, hold on. Pauline and Dan have been hanging out together. They like, this is just so freaking ridiculous that like Dan ruins everything. He tells all my friends things they don't need to know. No, okay, fine. You can say what you think it is.
You're not just telling me, you're telling a whole bunch of people who don't know you.
No, you told me you were mad at him and you punched him and broke your finger.
I didn't break my finger punching him. No, not even close. That's bullshit. I broke my hand. No, whatever. Okay, so
he's spewing lies apparently.
I broke the outside of my hand breaking down cardboard boxes at work because we were punching boxes at work to like break them down. And so I fractured my hand doing that. And then
Punched him?
no, I mean I punched him, but I like we were filming an interview with Denver 7 and I jammed my thumb in my chair and it broke and like has huge bruising pictures and stuff. And because of that, I went into anaphylaxis and had a seizure from like all that going on. So I'm a hot mess.
You know, that does sound pretty tragic, but my guess was going to be like you were bending over to scoop poop out of the litter box and you broke a bone that. I was just going to miss that kind of crazy mundane type work.
I
But
feel like breaking down a cardboard box is probably like pretty bad though. Like I think that's pretty. So
you know, some people get paid because you break a bone, right?
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Definitely.
I'm keeping UC Health alive and well sometimes.
Your insurance company is at least.
Yeah, I definitely don't have insurance right now, so like, you know, it's really
that's
hard
so
to be an endurance athlete at all. It's like without fear of even some minor injury in a bill. Like I'm obviously disabled. That's how I originally met you through the base team page. But yeah, it's like, you know, it's the fear of, man, you know, am I gonna fall in a race or something? You know, every little thing that just because of the way our insurance works in this country, which by the way, completely fucking sucks, you know, it'll end up bankrupting you. So yeah, it's definitely
Do you have catastrophic insurance?
yeah, but you know what? It costs a catastrophic amount of money.
Yeah, but I only have catastrophic, but it's like it's like a quarter of the price of buying like actual.
Well, you know what the thing is though, catastrophic is, you know, the difference between saving me from $50,000 and $10,000 isn't a lot when you only got $8,000, right? You know?
I don't know, $2,000 in debt versus $40,000 in debt.
But there's like, I mean, like on my end, so my dad works for, he owns his own consulting firm to consult with student health services around the country, especially their benefits. And so very fortunately, like between my sister and I, like we're well covered with like his knowledge and things. So like, I know that as long as I don't have assets, it's really hard for like a major company to come after me for medical bills. Now, that being said, before I lost my job today, I had dual insurance, so I was covered completely. And so it's tough. No, I still work for Base, but Base is like a side hustle project that like I do a lot more trade work with than actual paid. So I worked for a company I was a phlebotomist and like a senior team member for them. So doing plasma donation stuff.
I give money for plasma. Oh my
That's
God,
good.
those people, you know, anytime I've had a medical professional that wasn't one of them sick me, never left a scar. Those dudes, like, you honestly think I have a heroin addict if that's how bad they are at it.
Don't they have to use a bigger needle?
Yeah, we're using
Yeah.
like typically 18 gauge needles for sure. And then like also leaving that metal in there. There's lots of reasons why that is not a great, like that would be more likely to scar, but it's, yeah, that does not surprise me. And like, you have to have good veins already for us to stick you, but it always surprises me when people are like, oh, that like stick is just so hard. I'm like, yeah, but like you're not using a 24 on their toe, so.
Oh man, my veins pop out. People Google it, they're like, oh, I can definitely see yours. Like, yes, you can. So can I.
Don't you?
I have
Yeah.
huge veins.
I always look at my friends' veins and want to stick them.
That's like kind of creepy.
Oh, they
Is
are
that
weird.
your
They say that.
face?
She's not the only one that says that. I've had other people say that kind of thing too. It's weird.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
Like you're so vascular.
Yeah. I've got drugs. Let's do this.
So how'd you get hooked up to Base? You say it's a side gig, but you're essentially trading it for amino acids and salts, really, right?
I mean, I get more than that too. So like, I like, it's an incredible opportunity. So like, I was a part of the initial Base adaptive program team that Jay like was heading up back, it's almost been 2 years now. And so that was my first exposure. And I didn't really know like what we were doing, what we're getting into or anything. And I just kind of was me. And since I live so close like to Base in general, even when I was like commuting from Greeley, it was still like within an hour compared to, you know, others who are way out of state. And so I did a lot of like, I went to every event that I could and just showed up and hung out, whatever. For Boulder camp, Matt like hired me to go be SAG wagon and support. So, and different things. And then I was just super involved in like kind of trying to get our adaptive group like more doing random things together. And actually Larry, who's another adaptive teammate, he crewed my first 100-miler that I did last March. So he was there out of the blue, like never met before, and spent 3 days with me doing that. And so Matt said, you know, we're trying to like balance things out more for our team members. Would you be interested in taking on this leadership position for the adaptive team? And at the time, I'd also just taken over my Team Triumph's Denver chapter to kind of sustain them and keep them alive. You know, I'm already doing all this adaptive stuff. So I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. And so I probably like for adaptive specifically, the first like 4 months, I was probably putting in 20 hours to 30 hours a week of like just getting things done. And a lot of it's about like my passion project sides too. Like we're working with partnering with Pedal for Possible, which is Craig Hospital, which is our TBI and spinal cord injury hospital in Colorado. That's their big fundraising ride for their rec therapy department. So a lot of like being a base adaptive like is kind of like giving me some ground to walk around with and get to do some really cool things for sure. And I love working with like Matt and Rachel and Jay when they were there, you know, Larry, LJ, everyone. And Laura Lee's amazing, and so are the kids. I love hanging out with Scout and Ben. So
Yeah, I met those guys. I did Challenge Miami last year, and Matt, LJ, and that crew was down there, and I stopped and talked to them at the end of the day before the race at the expo. So we finally met. And Matt gave me shit. He's like, well, why aren't you wearing your base kit? I'm like, I only got one. I'm not doing launching before the race. LJ asked me, well, he suggested I join the adaptive team. And it's like, I didn't have the money at the time because, like you, I can't control my own assets because then I wouldn't be eligible for any of the benefits that would eventually provide me Medicare. Because unlike Colorado, my brother got on Medicare right away.
They had the expansive packaging a while back where they expanded their Medicaid. Yep.
Georgia is a very red state dominated by rural Republicans, and they don't like social programs like that. So I had to wait 2 full years, and then I had to get a trust approved, which it hasn't been done yet, and then I can get on it. But I had to be declared disabled first. So I essentially don't have control over any of my assets either, because I don't remember if you do, but I got hit by a car and suffered my TBI, which is what put me on disability. So yeah, the money.
So are you on the base team this year?
I didn't buy the new kit because again, I didn't have the money, and
let's fix that. We'll talk. We'll fix that. You'll be on the adaptive team.
And the thing is that every team is like this, that they encourage you to buy the new kit last year. I only ever raced in the base kit. I don't wear it as practice. I race in it. I only did like 3 races in it last year, and it's perfectly fine. I don't think the design.
You don't need to buy a new kit for the adoptive team at all, and we'll talk. I got you covered. We'll figure that out.
So yeah, I'm still in the Facebook group, and I still respond to posts every now and then. But yeah, I didn't renew with that. So
after you got a TBI, like what's your residual disability from that?
Honestly, the list is longer than I remember. Even though as many times as I've said over the last 4 years, I'll never remember them all at once. Obviously I have profound brain damage. My processing speed is about 50% of your average person, not my old self. I have really bad short-term memory, okay long-term memory. I can't multitask. I can't really do much at night. Like I can't do any more 4 a.m. rides because my object tracking is so poor that if I hit a stick or a pothole, I'm fucked. My field of vision has been narrowed. I have a blind spot in my right eye. Let's see. My eyes don't work in tandem, and I have nystagmus, so I had to have my neurologist write me a letter to keep in my glove box of my of my car, which they don't really want me driving, but I don't have an option anyway. But because of the nystagmus, I'll fail a field sobriety test even sober. And because I live in Cobb County, Georgia, we have what's called the drug whisperers, who think if you're on drugs, they're going to arrest you for a DUI. Well, I need that letter because they'll take me in, impound my car, and still take my license. And I've seen the exposés on the news in the past about people who this happened to, who were sober and weren't on drugs. They had to fight for years to clear their record and get their stuff back. So yeah, that was always the risk I ran until I got that letter. And I didn't even know I had the nystagmus until after 3 years of the doctor notices. I'm like, oh shit, that was pretty risky, right? So I'm trying to think of anything else. My balance is really screwed up. I can barely stand without swaying on 2 feet with my eyes open. Close my eyes, even 2 feet, 1 feet, I'll fall over. So
you end up with a stroke or anything as a result also of your TBI?
I ended up with major depression. My life circumstances were bad. I suffered PTSD. It gave me a lot of anxiety. I tried to work as an architect for 2 years after my accident, but I kept getting fired because I was essentially incompetent at my job. My ability, my speed at which I could work was not the speed that somebody wants to employ me for. They can hire an intern with no experience that could work faster than me. So, I got fired like 4 times. And, every time they would tell me, Eric, you're a great dude. We love having you here. You're just not able to meet the demands of what we need. I mean, and I would just say, I know, man, I tried. They're like, thanks for coming, though. So, yeah, that's, the 4th time after I got fired, it's like, this is just not going to work. So I went on disability, which is really fucking hard because I am 36 now. Disability I didn't do it for the money. Being 36, you don't pay into it very long. So I didn't get a lot. I'm not like you know, your 55-year-old guy who suffered a heart attack and can't work. There wasn't a lot there to actually bring in. So that was not my ideal situation, you know.
Yeah.
But I also, you know, my work experience reads as I'm a one-trick pony. People see an architect, and that's all they think I could do. Even though I do have skills in other areas, it's not a level of proficiency that I could ever get even an interview for any kind of job. Because, you know, at one point I applied to 400 different jobs of every different size, shape, from Craigslist, Indeed, whatever. Never got one interview. So people just think I could do one thing, and I could do other things, just not proficient enough to call it a career. So I've essentially been trying to, between doing the YouTube stuff and running it as a business, and, you know, and the website that I do writing for, I've been trying to build at least some kind of business resume to show that I can at least run my own gigs and do it successfully. Like, I had 4,206 subscribers. I'm just an ordinary white guy with brain damage. So I see that as a sense of accomplishment. I'm not hot. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a celebrity. I think I did pretty good for myself, given what I am, right? So it's like, you know, I've proved to myself that I could run the YouTube channel for 2 years. And I feel like I could take that to an interview and say, look, this is what I did. I have growth, you know, all this stuff. So I've, you know, even though I'm disabled, I've done stuff and started projects that operate like a business that could build me an alternative resume that potentially gets me off disability. I'm only 36. Nobody wants to do this for the rest of their life, right? You would, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But, you know, I didn't have any other options. So working for myself and doing it for free was the only way I was going to make that happen. So, but, you know, it's gone fairly well. It's, you know, all things considered, I think it's been a success. And I feel confident that I could show up at a future job interview and say, you know, yeah, I did this, I did that. I showed progress and growth. You know, this is all,
Marketing.
it's all things, yeah.
Yeah.
And being able to interview and research and do all this stuff and write. So it's all skills that I don't know what kind of job it'll get me, but I didn't have anything else. And, you know, I can't really go back to school either, because that short-term memory problem I have, I can't study for tests and retain the information to pass them.
Oh, it's so hard.
Yeah, I can't retain that information long enough to pass it. I used to have a photographic memory. I did really well in both undergrad and grad when it came to tests. I mean, I could read it a couple of times and I could see the pages in my mind. Used to be good, and I lost that ability. So, you know, it's kind of been struggling to build myself a foundation to start a second chapter of my life. But I've had fun doing it too, and I don't have a fucking boss to answer to. That's kind of cool, right? So tell me, we completely skipped over about those group runs that you participated. There was a couple of them. Is that how you got your intro into, you know, this being an athlete?
Kind of, yeah. So we met through Runner's Roost group run recently, like 4 months ago, 3 months, I don't know, 2 months, something.
Probably like December or January.
And so she met this Paulina, and Paulina met Jay. Jay is another, not Jay Weber, but Jatea Jay, who is another chair athlete. So we were out there and we're like, oh yeah, you should come out on a Monday night to this group. She's like, oh, well, I'm a PT. And Paulina, I don't want to give it away, but like, what do you do on your summers?
Oh yeah, so like the summer half of the year, I work on a wheelchair accessible sailboat on the East Coast.
Ooh.
So I really like working with adaptive athletes and like adaptive sports and recreation, whatever. So I moved here for the winter. I'm doing travel PT. So I was like, I want to get involved in adaptive skiing or other sports. So I like saw them at Runner's Roost and I was like, you guys look like you know where I could find ways to get involved.
So yeah, so she joined in. So every Monday night we have, it's called Achilles Internationals, the org that runs one of our chapters is out of Denver. And every Monday night, 6 p.m. at Wash Park, we have a group run. I I started with my stuff because I had friends who had similar disease process issues as I do that were doing like the one that I'm thinking of, like she has mastocytosis and then she has a like tumor on her spine that she can no longer, like she's a para now and I'm not, but it's like she was doing it in Disney World because she works there and stuff. And so I went out to like go see her do it and I got really sick on that trip. And then when I came home, I was like, I really, really want to like be okay enough to do this. And I think this is like something that I could do. And it was something that like my friends have been like, hey, you should really like think about doing wheelchair, you know, stuff. Cause I wasn't in a day chair yet at that point. And then I found like, I called 10 programs, found one that had racing chairs and got into it. And then 6 months later, I got into doing the group runs with Achilles and like took off from there. Like Achilles is my everything for like how I got started, the people who have like been there for me from day one, why I like decided to go chase 100-mile ultra marathon, why like it's everything. And they're a huge part of like helping me like also grow adaptive sport.
Achilles is awesome group. It's like everybody's super welcoming and friendly and motivating.
How much does that wheelchair cost, that racing chair?
So the racing chair I personally own is a green one that I'm sure you've seen the pictures of that one. I got through Challenged Athletes Foundation almost 2 years ago, I guess. I can't remember what year exactly. And that one is the cheapest model. And I think that one's normally around like 2,800 to 3,000. It may be less than that. And then they partner with Top End, so they get a decent discount as well. But like the racing chair that I'm borrowing currently is I think like around 3,000 to 3,500. And then you start adding on things like carbon wheels and stuff. Carbon wheels themselves, I think, are like 1,400.
Yeah, I got a set.
Yeah, and it just adds up quickly. Like the parts on the racing chair alone, like my racing chair, I have to still get from my friend's house to like get it fully assessed, but it's totaled. And the two wheels that like were bent 90 degrees, those both like are $500, $600 a piece. The front wheel is like $800. Like it adds up quick, like the parts of it. So.
Okay. So you told me one of the two races that one of your favorite experiences was the California Marathon. I've actually known people who ran that. Did you pick that race because it is a gradual downhill for almost the whole way because of your wheelchair, so you didn't have to struggle up any uphills? Is that why you selected that one?
So that's in Sacramento. It's the California International Marathon. So like I actually like when I started doing like full marathons, the only things I thought about was rock and roll races, and then COVID happened and stuff. And I've been really lucky to get to do things like Twin Cities and such. And last minute, I think like 3 weeks before the race, maybe not even a month, I saw a post that someone had a California International bib to transfer, and it would just be like $40 plus they would charge me 40 or something, which is a ridiculous great deal. So I registered, and then and this was partially because like I texted one of my really good friends, Jason, and I was like, hey, I have this bib, do you want it? And Jason's like, I'm already in, Julia. That's our blind athlete national championships. So like 5 or 6 of my like friends that I know on a local level in some capacity were going. And then it's a great like race too for wheelchair athletes. So, well, like I feel like that elevation chart is so misleading though, because it is a gradual downhill, but it has massive uphills constantly that like it's a rolling kind of. And at the time, like my style chair that I was in, I couldn't maintain momentum really to get up much more. So like it was always still a really big fight, and I actually went up backwards most of those hills. But I chose that one because my friends were doing it. I had to give up New York City Marathon, which was pretty devastating. And like, it was that, like within 4 hours, I'd found out about CIM. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to go do it. And it was just an incredible, like Richard Hunter, who just retired from the United States Blind Athlete Organization, USBI, I think. He ran the athletes with disabilities component because he had built this huge program for blind athletes already. So it was pretty easy for him to like pick up the other athlete stuff. And it was like hands down an incredible, like I felt so spoiled because I was taking care of the way like I take care of everyone else on race days to like, so everyone gets their experience no matter what we're doing. So.
Okay. So what was your time for California International?
That one, I think it was around a 4:28. I had roughly like 30 minutes of having to stop total off and on. So, well, like weather here and that time of year is much more mild, cold, whatever. Like they had enough heat that like I had to stop every 45 minutes to take medications to prevent a major reaction. And actually at one point, like I had opened my bag and I had two bike pacers who like stuck with me pretty much from the first hour, and they're like, oh, we'll just hang out with you, this is fun.
Oh, it wasn't people that you knew?
No. And so I was like solo out there, like technically speaking, like I had friends on the course, whatever, and friends in the area. But so like I was like, oh yeah, just so you know, like every 45 minutes I'm gonna do this. I have to take food too, and I have to check my blood sugar or whatever. And I think it was like at mile 14 or something. I was like pretty tired anyways. And I like go, oh shit. And the medications that I had like pre-drawn up, my IV meds, like had accidentally broken. So I was like technically out of them, which would be okay. Like in terms of, I was only pre-treating at that point, so it wasn't too big of a deal, but could become one, especially since I still had at least like another 10, 12 miles left. Like it could be another, like, I mean, it could be only an hour or it could be another 3 hours and stuff. So they sent a motorcycle cop, because, you know, it's a point-to-point one, to find the person who was like helping me out for the weekend. She's another local triathlete out there, and picked up my bag and brought it back to me. So like I had all of like my spare meds too, which was like just crazy amazing that like these cyclists, and then by the end I had like 5 cyclists with me who were like encouraging me and stopping me from like there was someone who like passed out in front of me, and I went to like get up because like I'm an EMT, like I will always put good or bad, this, like I get told this is not the right way to think, I will always like stop for someone else. Like if someone else is hurt, like I'm stopping until they have aid. Cool, then I'll go on. But they're like, keep going. We have 2 nurses here. Keep going. You're going. Let's go. Focus on your stroke. Let's get your time. So my goal for that race was under a 4-hour race, and I think it's totally, absolutely possible in the future. And ultimately, like that was the end of my season. And my season had started in March of last year with a 100-miler. So like it was a very long season. So I'm pretty happy with that. We did the 100-miler a year ago. It's like March 26th, 28th.
And then what was the California one?
December 5th
wow.
or 6th. So yeah. And I had done 3 ultras in that time frame, 4 full marathons, and a bunch of like small races because I was in charge of organizing things. So
these ultras y'all done, none of it's in a wheelchair, because it's all, the ultras are off road, right? None of it's on pavement.
it's all in wheelchair stuff. So
Oh.
I have like most of the ultras, like the 100-miler I did, it was a virtual anyways because Pistol had to cancel their in-person. And I like, the only reason I was like dumb enough to decide to do it, there's many reasons I guess, but I was in Tennessee helping my friends do their like virtual half marathon at I think it's Lake to Lake in Kentucky, Tennessee area. So like I was crewing for them. I got sick, spent a week in the hospital there, and like it was just so like glowing from like the excitement of what we were doing that I called Jason. I was like, hey, turns out Pistol doesn't have a time cap on the virtual 100. Like it's just like you just have to do it in one go, but like no time cap. I think I'm gonna do it. And Jason's like, okay, sweet, yeah, like let's talk tonight. And then to be like, as I'm like trying to get my butt home to Colorado, missing flights that keep ending up in the hospital, we're like talking through the plan. So I did it over 3 days. And I like my longest day was a 40-mile day. My shortest day was like 27. And the deal was like I would start in the morning and go until like 8 o'clock at night and then be done for the night and go and sleep and rest. We got snow on our 3rd day, so that was kind of like a wrench. That was good for me because I don't do well in the heat, and it was really hot day 2. I had a severe concussion day 1 that we didn't realize how severe it was until
How'd you do
like
that?
2 days after
How
the
did
race.
you do that? That's not a broken bone.
I got hit by a skateboarder at Wash Park, and I thought it was sufficient enough to just text one of our running friends, hey, I got hit by a skateboarder, and then I didn't really mention it until after the fact again when I was like, oh, by the way, I have really bad concussion, guys. You're not going to hear from me a couple days. So. And then like I had to take all these medications, so my memory is already jacked. But like day 2, like I was looking at our friends and I was shaking too because like blood sugar and all that was messed up. And I was just like, what are we talking about? Which like is normal for other ultra runners, but it was not exactly. We've learned lots about me and how I can do things safe and not safely. So
trying to figure out how to word this. It sounds like you find new and exciting ways to get hurt. Would you say that's a fair statement?
yeah.
There you go. All right.
Should have worn that shirt.
Yeah, I got Paulina. So like, you know, with base, we have these things, and I'll just send you a care package. But I got her a shirt that says, that's a horrible idea, what time? Because Paulina, like, we've been running together now. And then I think it's like a few weeks ago, she's like, oh, are you going to do running in the greens? I want a guide for you. I was like, yeah, sure. And then I ended up like in the hospital last week because I was hit by the car. And she's like, are you still going to do it? And I was like, yeah. And then it's like, we like were prepping for whatever. And then that morning we did the run. And then I was like, we knew we were going to go get brunch. And I was like, oh, well, let's just run downtown. And Paulina was like, okay, are you being serious? I was like, yeah, okay.
I feel like most of the time I'm like, I can't tell if you're serious or joking. I'm just like, I'm serious. I'm like, okay, I'm down.
So we ran downtown, drank 3 margaritas, and then ran back to Wash Park after doing a like 4-mile race, 4.5. And this is all in a new racing chair that I borrowed. That's a different style because my other one's like all jacked up right now. So
They keep rolling, they hating. So I guess I get back to the adaptive team since you just mentioned that. Are you like in sole charge of it? Like Matt and them, they said, here, this is yours. We're not gonna give you a lot of oversight, do what you want, just make it good and you run it how you want. What are your, is that how?
yeah, that's pretty much like Matt was like, look, I think you can do an incredible job with this. If you want to grow it to the same size as the big team, the main team, great. If you, whatever you want to do with it, like tell me what you need and what you want. And so, I mean, it's, like base has kind of gone through this rough spot, right? Where like we laid off all of the salaried employees, essentially. I mean, I guess, there's Rachel, Matt, and Lauralee are the, I guess it's really just Rachel and Matt at the office. Like I come in and do side work. Larry still sometimes comes in to help out too, I guess. Everyone's around here or there, but so like financially, like it's kind of limited, but yeah, like Matt was like, here's the reins, go for it. And so I've done a lot on a local level. Like I've kind of gotten involved with the Junior Nationals planning committee for this year. Craig Hospital has been a big like partner spot for me. And then I've been working a lot with Adaptive Adventures and figuring out like what it looks like for us to work with them and vice versa. I think it's tough because like this isn't a typical adaptive team in the sense it's not like Challenged Athletes Foundation or like I'm able where like the focus is like adaptive athlete specific, like growing you as an adaptive athlete. It's just like this is our traditional team that has a component specifically to allow individuals who have a financial disadvantage more than likely because of being disabled, the ability to be on the team as well. And also like highlight the fact that adaptive athletes are an incredible asset to being on any team. And so absolutely deserve to be there and like celebrated and encouraged. And I think the team is really like tucked into like tapped into really supporting the adaptive athletes. And I know that like, some haven't really gotten to meet teammates yet and stuff, but I've been really fortunate. Like any race I do, I've like found a way to make sure I'm meeting some other teammates, not necessarily adaptive athletes. But when we did New Orleans, Jay and I drove down there. It was a 19-hour trip one way.
That sucks. That's long.
We spent it with 100 of the other teammates, and they just like full supported us. Like we had 5 people at the start line getting us all ready, like pumping tires, making sure everything was taken care of, holding our service dogs during the race. Jay actually got to like present the colors at the race because she's a Marine, and flags to finish were there. And they're like, well, we would love to like have you honored as like this and stuff. And it's just like, it's home. And I mean, I get shit all the time for things. Like I'm carrying around all my IV meds and my IV fluids. So here we are sitting at like brunch and I've got fluids hanging on a picture on the wall and like telling the waiter like, hey, just make sure you don't like give me anything I'm allergic to. And got an ER teammate next to me who's like, yeah, please don't. She's already a shit show. Like really, we don't need this. But it's a really fucking special place to be, excuse my language. And, you know, Matt has gone and moved mountains for me in so many ways, just on like a level that I could never have expected, and his acceptance of who I am just as a person from the get-go, and the team, and being able to contribute and being able to be supported. Like Jay and I were going to do New York City Marathon together before that became a no. And Jay alone, like the mentorship he has given me over the past 18 months and friendship of developing me as an athlete is like why Colfax is happening, and why so many other opportunities are happening that like they're my home, they're my family that I desperately loved and got into being with, because, you know, like I've always grown up playing team sports, and that's a huge part of like why I am an athlete. And being an athlete is the one thing that I've gotten to continue to do no matter what, for the most part, versus like, you know, like I just lost my job today again. Like, and we've talked about losing jobs and stuff, and there's other opportunities and stuff, but like I'm still an athlete. I'm still the girl that can go and push a marathon, and who's going to, like, I'm probably gonna be there Monday night this week, hanging out, running,
I'm sure you will.
or maybe I will tone it down a little bit, but we'll see. So yeah, I don't know. And like the nutrition and hydration component literally saved my life. I did a 50 miler, which is supposed to be 100 and 105 degrees in September. And the only way that was possible is because I'd worked so heavily with Jay of like learning my body more, because I'd gotten heat exhaustion in Vegas like in April that year. So
Yeah, that sounds like it would have been one more hospital visit too. And from the sound of it, just in our short talks, you probably filled out a whole bunch of frequent flyer hospital punch cards, haven't you?
oh yeah.
So
yeah, we've that's the real shitty part about losing my job is I've already met all my out of pockets, so I got to decide if I'm going to pay out of pocket for Cobra or not to get some surgeries done.
I've been there. Yeah, you know, because I didn't have Medicare for those first few years. You know, the part of having a TBI and not being a functional architect anymore is I couldn't get Medicare, so I had to work to have health insurance. But I never had time to do rehab if I was working, because I was struggling. It took more time for me to do normal stuff that other people did. So, you know, essentially those 2 years, I made no fucking progress.
Our
Hey,
healthcare
one
system
second.
is so messed
Do you
up.
want us? Are you hearing the outside? So we can close the door real quick. Should we? Yeah, we're gonna close the door real quick. One
I
sec.
can hear you. I don't even hear any beeping in the background. You're good.
Okay, cool, sweet. Then we're good. We're just like the door's kind of open and it's a shift change, I think.
Why they did that, but yeah, healthcare system is so messed up in this. It's so messed up.
Yeah.
Very frustrating.
So, I mean, I was well aware of the base layoffs when they happened, because I remember either Matt told me or it was on the team page. But with obviously the financial tough times during the pandemic they went through, has that kind of tied your hands with what you're able to do with the adaptive team?
I don't think so, because I mean, the adaptive team really has always been built off of like kind of tagging on to what's already been done for the big team. So like the big team, you know, we're putting there's like 1,300, 1,500, I can't remember the exact numbers of people putting in their orders, right? So base already, because they produce these other kits and everything, they meet a different level of minimum orders than, you know, you would say for like a 30-person adaptive team. So we're just tapping onto those minimums, and we're getting the least expensive option as adaptive athletes for like the cost of us. Like the profit margin for like what the adaptive team produces is probably like, I don't know, maybe 1% of the cost. I don't know actual numbers off the like top of my head and stuff. Like there really isn't a margin for profit off of any adaptive order of any kind, and that's not the purpose. It's like really just like, so we get the most significant discount on nutrition, hydration, and all those options. And I think like one of the cool things that like I've benefited from being local is like this option to also trade in some like hours for like gear and stuff too. So like having like not having to pay fully out of pocket for some things is really cool. But yeah, and I think like it's limited in some ways. Like we couldn't do run shirts specifically. We only did cotton shirts this year. I think like if base was in a position to, they would probably love to do some sort of like sponsorship of the events that like I've looked at, like Pedal for Possible. And when I say sponsorship, like more of like a donation based versus in-kind donation. But like,
Possible dreams.
yeah. So I think that like those are the limitations, and I think it's hard because like I was so heavily relying too on like Jay and Matt, like were really hands-on guiding me, and it's like having a little less support in that area is kind of hard because it's like, okay, well, I'm figuring out where our traction is right now. But I think like just recognizing the true intent is that getting adaptive athletes opportunity to be on the team and getting them involved is the big piece. And then what I can do as an individual with an email of @baseperformance.com has been pretty cool. Like Colfax Marathon stuff is the big one. I need to like keep dropping that, but for the first time in 11 years, Colfax Marathon will allow one chair, which is going to be me, to complete the full marathon course. And so previously, chair athletes had been banned from all courses except for the 5K. Up until last year, we were allowed to do the half marathon, then that changed. And so I really like have put in a fight over the past like year for that. And that's gotten multiple organizations involved and lots of other advocacy. And so it's a huge step to be able to have that going for us and something that like I'm really celebrating. And it doesn't necessarily directly impact everyone on the adaptive team, but like this is kind of like where I see my role, like being an adaptive program athlete, like contributing to allowing accessibility in better ways.
Oh, I 100% believe that you really make no money off adaptive team members. I know for a fact that pretty much people who are adaptive or disabled, we are not so much a drain on society, but nobody profits off us. Having to go even the extra mile to help accommodate people like that, it costs you more money. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why corporate America, there's kind of, there's a fight against it, but in the past, that's part of the reason why corporate America had a lot of discrimination towards adaptive or disabled people, because in the end, it's like you really don't want them because it costs you more company than it would a normal person. Yep. So I get that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to get you out on this one. Tell me what you see. I don't want to ask what's your 5-year plan for the base team, because I absolutely hate hearing that question at job interviews, because I never had anything good to say, because all I really wanted to say is I'm probably not going to be working for you guys because I dropped out so much. So I hated being asked that question. So to get you out on this, what do you want to do with base as you move into the future? What are your goals, ambitions? What's your vision? What do you see for it?
If like the biggest coolest thing that I could possibly probably imagine right now is that we match the level of like involvement as the main team to some extent, whatever. And then like on a local level, I would love to like have it be the starting point for a junior national program, regional program out of Colorado, which like Texas has this phenomenal program. Saul is a Paralympian that started the Texas program. California has a great program because of CAF and all these things. Like, I'd love to see that. But like, I think the most fulfilling moments for me are when someone either is really comfortable looking at me and like wants to, share what they're going through, or they like find out whatever somehow. But when I get to like hear their story and like what's happened or what's going on for them, and I get to say, hey, like, you're not alone. Actually, like, I have this really cool team thing I do. Like, do you want to come be an athlete with us too? Like, and it's not about, like, I don't know, just to take someone's most horrible moments and be able to say, hey, there's something good here. Like, there's something worth existing for, and is my like why, and like why I wake up in the morning these days. Like, that's probably the thing that I just want to continue the most, and probably learn how to better manage time and get to like do meetings effectively and learn the different things. But like a pipe dream would be to have some accessibility specific clothing to like in the athletic world. I don't know like how possible or impossible it is, but if you look at like the trajectory of like base, like where they started and where they are now, like having that, I think you're always going to fight the dynamic of adaptive athletes all have very, very different needs. And there's like a different level of like minimums for that and stuff. So, but I think it would be really, really cool to have like even something as basic as like bib shorts that have a special design component to them that make them more accessible overall. Or like something as simple as like water bottle stuff too, or like however different components. And we've like had lots of those conversations. One of the big things that has been asked in the adaptive world in general is like front pockets, but that's such a hard thing because like if you look at me, I am in a pushroom, so I'm leaning fully over on my like stomach. Like back pockets are my use. But if you look at hand cyclists, well, yeah, the front pockets are nice, but also like that's where their pedals essentially are coming into their gut. So it's, I just like whatever like positive impact, that's cool. But I just want to open doors, I guess, for others, and just like it's all about like loving someone else where they're at and making sure they know that they belong.
Actually, I had one more thing that just popped in my head because I had a thought relating to my brain injury support group that I had yesterday. So sometimes we're able to go through brain injury organizations and not get a lot of money, but we can get small grants or scholarships to do stuff related to our, our adaptive problems or disabilities. Do you foresee like BASE doing anything like that for their adaptive team members once they become financially profitable on a sustained level again? Is that in the plans?
I really don't know how to answer that question just because it hasn't been.
You don't have to give me an answer now. I
No,
just
you're
didn't
good.
know if there was like
It's
a thought.
like I think that on my own individual level, it is really scary to like potentially have to manage a financial grant type program. To me, that doesn't like rule it out at all. And I know that like for example, teammates came together to help me when when Southwest totaled my racing chair previously. So I think there's definitely opportunity for like supporting adaptive athletes through different issues, like specifically on our BASE adaptive team. I don't know that it'll be something like a grant thing like CAF does or I'm able, but maybe like ultimately something that like does allow, like I could picture like almost like in-kind donations, like, oh, you can donate flights to allow an adaptive teammate to be able to afford to come to camp kind of thing. So I think it'd be geared towards the involvement on the team versus like a specific like, hey, you're getting this grant for your disability stuff. This is more, I would say like, hey, we're recognizing you as an important teammate and would like to offer you this opportunity to be able to do more with the team. So I don't know, though. It's a really great like question that I think is in everyone's kind of heads to an extent.
That sounds great. Okay, I'm taking up your time. Thank you, ladies, for joining me. It's been great. I actually learned more about the basic
opportunity. Yeah,
I've learned more about the team. So
yeah, and you said that you would love to guide for me, so I think we've got some fun to plan.
Wait, so your guides are on foot though, right? They're not,
Yes.
Yeah, but I can have like cyclist guides. Like for rock and roll, I've had before like where I can bring my own cyclist guide as well. It just kind of depends on the scenario.
Easier to keep up with you, honestly.
Colfax, I don't think I'm bringing. I'm getting a cyclist guide, but my support is runners, which will be interesting and fun. Paulina like experienced that this weekend or last week, whatever.
Yeah, it's like downhill is like a full-on sprint, and then like a little recovery going uphill, and then a full-on sprint.
Yeah,
so it's like a workout.
That sounds good. I'll tell you what, if you do Savannah, if gas prices aren't like through the roof,
where are you based out of in Atlanta or in Georgia?
So I'm in Atlanta. So if you look at a
map
map
I was
of Georgia
to Atlanta to go to Savannah because my best friends are in Atlanta. That's why I want to come do Peachtree.
Oh, I thought you just wanted to do it because I said it.
Huh? I mean that too. Like you're my
inspiration.
So if you look at Atlanta on Google Maps, right, you'll notice this freeway that encircles it, like literally a circle. It's I-285. That when you live in Georgia in the Atlanta metro area, there's known as ITP and OTP. The 285 is called the perimeter. I live ITP. That's where people with a lot of money or single people live. When you get married and you have kids, you go out to the suburbs because you have better schools out there. Inside it's so you send yourself to private schools.
My friends live in Sandy Springs, I think is their spot. It's like North Atlanta area.
Yeah, it's not too far away, but that's a relative term depending on what time of day you're trying to drive.
Okay.
What part of Atlanta do you live in? Besides
Vinings.
it?
I live in Vinings.
Oh, I don't. Oh yeah, I kind of know where that. I went to Emory, so I lived there for 5 years.
I live about a mile away from the Braves' new baseball stadium, right down the road.
I've been there before.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a nice park.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, fuck, if you're gonna come from Atlanta, I might as well.
And let's get you on the adoptive team. I have a proposal for you. So
Great, I love it. But yeah, if you're gonna have to fly into Atlanta to do Savannah, and you need a guide, I might as well just ride down with you because you know I don't have a job to be at or anything else. But you know, I could be your guide for that. If you gotta go from my house down to there anyway, right? Ride together.
yeah, I'll keep you posted what happens with Peachtree too. I'm sure that like between myself and Katie, we have enough connections to I have someone who is a cyclist specifically for me. But
Fair warning though, running Peachtree,
isn't it horrible?
It's hot. Also, it's like always so hot.
it's hot and every other year
But it's so cool because like you get to go hang out with the Shepherd Center patients and like you get to like
You know that fucking place, when I had my brain injury, they said it's not severe enough. I said, this is what's wrong with me. They would not take me in.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, specialty hospitals are interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, I can't wait here. It really would have helped too.
Come out to Colorado. I'll get you all the resources out here.
I'll tell you what, if I ever decide to come out and visit my brother wherever the hell he is at Denver,
Yeah,
I'll definitely bring a pair of running shoes and make my way out to Boulder. So I can visit you, hang out with
absolutely.
you guys, hang
Oh.
out with Matt, crash on couches and stuff. Who knows?
there's
So
plenty of couches. We have plenty of them.
You can come to Achilles.
I'll sleep anywhere. I can get, you know, I slept on floors, whatever, you name it. Architecture.
We'll go camping for a week. It'll be great.
So thanks again, girls. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Have a good week.